Good morning and Sairam to all my students. I hope that you all are fine and you all must be having a good time at home. You all must be involved some more activities at home. Try to enhance your skill. Don't waste your time playing. Play, but at times you should keep yourself engaged in learning something new which will help that in your future. So today we are going to start with a new lesson of moments. The last chapter we did was the Lake Isles of Innisfree. That was from Beehive. Now we have skipped the third chapter of moments. Why? Because as you all know that your syllabus is being revised and there are some chapters which are deleted from your syllabus. So Ishwaran the storyteller is one of that chapter which is deleted and we are not going to do that. So now we have to start with the fourth chapter of the moments, that is in the kingdom of fools. From the title itself you can see that the kingdom of fools means what? That means whole people are fool. Not only the people are fool there, but the kings and the ministers. The king and the ministers are fool there. They are the foolish person, unintelligent. Those who don't know what to do and what not to do. The decision taken by them are just a very different decision from all other kingdoms, and they only want that also, that they don't want to make their kingdom as same as the other, but they want to prove that they are very different from others, and they have proved it also. How? We will learn in this chapter. So let us start with the explanation of this chapter, but before that let us have the introduction of this chapter. This is a story in a Kannada folktale. It's a Kannada folktale. What is a folktale? It is folktale means the story which is passed from one generation to the another generation. There are certain story which your grandparents tell you, and they tell you that they have been told the story by their grandparents. So this is how you got to know that your great grandparents used to tell this story to their children, and now your grandparents are telling this story to you. That means that is a folk tale because it is passing from one generation to the another. So in the same way, this kingdom of fool is also a folk tale which is from Kannada. That is from that it is taken from a book. So it is taken from a book which names Folk Tales from India, and this book is written by A.K. Ramanujan. Now you all must be remembering who is A.K. Ramanujan. We have learned that he is a very famous Tamil writer, and he has translated the work Wind into English language. So the same A.K. Ramanujan is a Tamil writer, and he has written a collection of work which known as Folk Tales from India, in which he has written many folk tales which belong to India. From that only we got to have one story from that, and one of those story is in the kingdom of fool. Before starting with the chapter, let us look at the words. Bailiff. Bailiff is a word which means the word is given to a person who is a law officer and who makes sure that whatever decision of a court are ordered, they have to be obeyed by the people. So bailiff is a person who is a law officer. Scrape. Scrape means a difficult situation that one has got into. Sneaked. Sneaked means when we went somewhere secretly or when we peeked somewhere secretly. Compensate. Compensate. Give something to reduce the bad effect. Execution. Killing a criminal as legal punishment. So execution means as a legally when we kill someone, that is known as execution. Now let us start with the chapter. In the kingdom of fools, both king and minister were fools. As I told you, the kingdom of fools means not only the people were fool there, though they were not, but here only the king and the ministers of the king are fool, because whatever decision they make, the people have to follow them, and eventually the people also become fools because they never get against those decisions taken by the kings and the minister. So the first line of the chapter tell us that in the kingdom of fools, the king and the ministers were fools. They did something different to rule their kingdom from others. They changed day into night and night into day. So, as I've told you, that they have that thing in their mind that they want to make their kingdom different from other kingdom. And to do such thing, what they did, they changed the day into night and night into day. So it is not in our hand to change the day into night scientifically, but what they did, they ordered that everyone should be awake at night. Nobody will sleep at night, but they will do their daily work at night. That means their business. If the farmer is plowing the field, that he has to do it that night. So everything, whatever we do in the day, we have to do that at night. And in the daytime, we all have to sleep. Even the animals in that area are habitual of sleeping in the day and waking up at night. So from this we got to know that they want to change their kingdom. They want to prove that their kingdom is different from all other kingdoms. And to do such thing, what they did, they just changed and they ordered the peoples of that kingdom that you all have to change the day into night and night into day by waking up at night and doing your whole work at night and sleeping in the day. So this was the first decision took by the kings and the ministers of that kingdom. Now what happened? One day a guru and his disciple arrived in the city, and it was a very beautiful city. It was a broad daylight, that means it might be noon time when the sun is overhead, but there was no one about. So it was very shocking for a person to see that there is no one, no shop is open, no one is plowing the field, no children are playing outside. What is going on? Everyone was asleep. Not a mouse stirring, even not the animals are moving there, not a single insect is moving there. Even the cattle had been taught to sleep by day. As I have told you that the animals also became habitual of sleeping at the daytime and awaking at the night time, and they used to do their daily activity at that time only. So both were amazed. Now guru and disciple were very amazed to see that what is going in this city, and they wandered there. They were moving here and there till the evening, and as soon as the sun set, everyone waked up and they started doing their nightly business. That means whatever we are doing right now in the daytime, they are doing that at night. And they started their everyone has opened their shop, children started playing, and the farmer started plowing his field. So whatever work is done scientifically in the daytime, they are doing at that night time. Now both were very hungry, and they decided that let us buy some groceries. But they were shocked. Now what? Now again a very important decision taken by the king of that kingdom, that whatever thing you are buying, that will cost you the same thing. Either you are buying wheat, a sack of wheat, a sack of rice, or you are buying bananas, or you are buying ghee, or you are buying sugar. Whatever you are buying, that will cost the same thing, the same rupee, that is one dudu. Dudu is a money called in Kannada language. Now they were shocked to see that everything here cost only one dudu. Now when the guru and disciple cooked and ate their food, the guru realized that this kingdom is a kingdom of fool, and he decided that we will not stay here any longer because this is not safe for us. Now the guru told this thing to disciple also, that it's not safe, we should leave at once. But the disciple want to stay. Why? Because he was foodie and he loved to eat, and he has decided that I am getting good food at cheap rate, so I will stay here only, and I only need to have a good and delighted food. and that's what he's getting here. So he decided that he is not going, though his guru said few words, that guru even warned him that this place is not safe, you cannot tell what they will do next to you. So but disciple, that he has decided that he will not go. Now the guru also gave up. He said, I am not forcing you much more, and he said that do whatever you feel, and he left with that words. Now disciples stay back there, and he ate full day bananas, rice, ghee, wheat, and he grew like a street side bull. Street side bull, the bulls which you can see in the streets, very heavy bulls who are moving here and there, he became as such. Now one incident happened during that time. What? One day a thief entered a merchant house, and what he did, he made a hole in the wall of the house of the merchant to make an entry in that house. And when he was about to move, where he took all the jewelry and money from that home, and when he was going out of that house, after looting all the things, the wall broke and it fell on his head, and he died there only. So the thief died on the moment when the wall fall on his head. Now the thief was with his younger brother. They both went into the house of the merchant. Now the thief younger brother went to the king and complained that his brother was following his ancient trade. Now here the younger brother of the thief is telling a story to the king. He knew that the king is foolish, and whatever I will tell very cleverly, he will not understand that. And he made a very clever story that my brother was doing an ancient trade. That means his family has the business of looting the people. So he didn't mention what ancient trade his brother was doing, but he only informed the king that he was doing an ancient trade. And what was the ancient trade? The ancient trade was that he was looting the house of the merchant. And he started explaining the whole story to the king, that my brother went to the merchant house. While he was working, the wall fell on his head and he died. The thief brother was taking the advantage of the king's foolishness. He said that the merchant wall has fallen on his brother, and now the merchant was the culprit, and he should have made a strong wall. He requested the king to punish the merchant and get compensation for his family. As soon as the merchant appeared, now what happened when the whole story was being described or being told in front of the king decided that yes, now king doesn't use his mind to guess that what he was doing at merchant house and why the wall fall on him. He said, okay, fine, if this much has happened, then I should catch the culprit and I'll punish that person surely. Now he called the merchant first. He called the merchant, and the king asked his name. He tell his name, this and that, and the king asked him whether he was at home when the dead man, the thief, was burgling his house. Burgling means that he was looting his house. The merchant replied that yes, he was at home only. The thief made the hole in the wall and entered his house, and when he was trying to go out, the wall fell on him because it was weak. Then the king told the merchant that he was guilty, that the merchant was guilty because he did wrong. Due to his weak wall, the thief died, and now he would be punished. Now here the merchant pleaded. He asked for a permission that, sir, king, can I say something? And he requested that, my lord, it's not my fault. It's not my mistake. The wall was weak. Why? Because the person who made the wall did not construct it properly. Hence you should punish him. And further he added that the wall was made during his father's time. The person who built this wall was very old. He knew where he lived. So he tell that the merchant here is saying that it's not my mistake. This wall was made weak by the bricklayer. So it's not my mistake. You should punish that person. and he is very old because he made this wall during my father time. He is very old and he is lived nearby. I should bring him. So the king sent his soldier to call the bricklayer who built the wall. They tied his hands and feet and brought him in the king's palace. The king asked him that did he build the wall, and he replied that yes, he did. King said that the man had built a weak wall. The wall fell on the poor thief head and killed him. The bricklayer would be punished for his death. Now everyone is doing one thing, what? That they are passing their blame on to others. Now the bricklayer is saying that was not my fault. The dancing girl was moving here and there in the street, and that tinkling of her anklet is making me distracted from making a wall, and that was not my mistake. What should I do? So let us move on. Everyone is passing the blame on to the other. And when the king was about to pass an order to execute the bricklayer, he requested the king to listen to him. So he said that I agree that the wall was weak, that wall was not made properly, but that was not my fault. It was because of a girl who was roaming around in the street and her anklet were making a jingling sound. And due to the jingling sound of the anklet, he was not able to concentrate on his work. And so he made a weak wall. Now it was not his mistake, it was the fault of a girl. He added that he knew where that girl lived. She should be punished instead of me. Now the king was satisfied with the bricklayer explanation. So he said, okay, let us call that girl. Now the case is becoming very complicated and will not be able to solve it so easily. So he ordered the messenger that you should go and bring that girl here. Now dancing girl came, and now she has become a very old woman because it's been years now that ball has been built, and the girl was young at that time. Now she is very old and she was trembling as she entered the court. The king asked her that many years ago she was dancing and roaming around in the lane while the bricklayer was constructing the wall. Her movement distracted him. She confirmed him. She said, yes, I was moving there and I was moving in the lane up and down. So he told her that she was roaming with her anklet jingling. It distracted the bricklayer. Due to this, the work was not done properly, and he made a weak wall, due to which a thief died, and now she should be punished for this. Now again the same thing, as the merchant passed his blame onto the onto the bricklayer. Now the bricklayer has passed the blame onto the dancing girl. Dancing girl has passed this blame onto the goldsmith. Why goldsmith? She was roaming here and there again and again because she was visiting the goldsmith shop. She has given some gold to the goldsmith to make jewelry out of it, and he was very dishonest person because he was making excuses for making her ornaments. Now she has to go here and there. She had to go to his house at least a dozen times. So the dancing girl says that it was not my fault, it was the fault of the goldsmith. Now the bailiff, that is the law officer, was sent in search of goldsmith. Now goldsmith entered the court of the king. The goldsmith was hiding inside his shop as he feared being arrested. When he was brought in front of the king, he told the story. He said that the dancing girl was right. He made many excuses and made her visit the shop many times. But this was not his fault. He had an order from a very rich merchant that they had a wedding at their place and they are in very hurry to get their order. And that is why the dancing girl work was getting delayed. The goldsmith gave an excuse that yes, she is right. I was unable to make her ornaments because I got a order from a very rich merchant, and they said that they want the order urgently because there is a marriage in their home, and that's why I delayed the work of this dancing girl. The goldsmith said that the merchant was the same merchant whose house wall has fallen down. So now the circle completes, the cycle completes, and who is the main culprit right now? It is again the merchant. The merchant father has ordered the goldsmith to make a jewelry, which made the dancing girl to move here and there, which distracted the bricklayer, and the wall fell. Whose wall fell? The merchant's wall. And the merchant's father gave the order to the goldsmith. Now he was not alive. The merchant father was dead. Now who to punish now? Everyone was very curious to know that who is going to be punished now. Once again the merchant was called. He was crying, and he knew that the king was foolish and he would give him death sentence. He said that it was not he who had ordered the jewelry, but it was his father. His father was dead and it was none of his fault. Now the king consulted his minister and gave the decision that the merchant father was the murderer. The thief died because of him. As the merchant father was not alive, someone had to be punished now. So he said that the merchant's son, that is the merchant now, had inherited everything from his father. Now he have to inherit this punishment also. Now this punishment for the father's bad doing will be given to the son. Now the young merchant whose father is dead, whose fault was there at the weak wall, his son will be given the death sentence. So he added that he had seen the merchant for the first time at that moment. Now the king says that when I saw this merchant for the first time, I had the feeling that he is the one who is the culprit. So the king announced that now the merchant would have to die. When the new weapon was getting ready, the minister felt that the merchant was very thin, that he was very lean, and he could not be executed in this way. He told this to the king, and king got worried now that what to do. Someone has to be punished now. I have given the order and I cannot take this order back. Now what to do? So king got an idea, and he said that go and catch a man who is as fat as this steak. The merchant would not be put on death because he was very thin, and now they thought of punishing another person instead of merchant. And who is to be punished? One who is very fat, who can be fitted in that steak, has to be punished now. They found the guru's disciple, who has now become very fat after eating so much thing. The disciple said that he is a sannyasi. He had not done anything wrong. Now the disciple is giving his side. He is saying, just listen to me, I am a sannyasi, I have not done anything wrong, why you are catching me, I am innocent. But they are not listening to him, as the king has ordered them to bring a fat man. The king's servant said that he was innocent, but they were ordered to catch the fat man and who can be executed on the stake. Now he was fit on that stake, and that's why they are taking him. Now disciple is reminded of his guru. At that moment the disciple reminded the word of his guru, that guru has said that they can do anything. We are not sure because this place is not safe. Guruji, who was a wise man, has told that this city is of fools and they could harm him, and now they are taking him along them to execute him. The helpless disciple prayed to his guru. He was praying in his mind to his guru and asked him to come to his rescue. Now he asked his guru in his mind only, in his inner self, that please come, Guruji, come and save me. Now Guruji is a very wise man, and he could visualize everything, whatever is going around him, and he visualized the message of the disciple by his magical power, and he could see everything. He could see the future, the present, the past. He could see everything in the vision. Now the Guru arrived there to save his disciple. The disciple was trapped in a difficult and a very serious situation. They were about to execute him. Although he had not done anything wrong, so the Guru come to rescue the disciple from this situation. As the Guru met his disciple, first of all, what he did, he scolded him a lot. Why? Because he didn't listen to his Guru, and he didn't obey him and stayed back in that town. So he whispered something. Now the Guru whispered something secretly in the ears of the disciple. What were these words? The Guru now is trying to trap the king in his words, because Guru was a very wise man and the king was very foolish. Whatever the Guru will make a plan, he will fall into that. So he is preparing a trap for the king. So he asked, now Guru is asking the question from the king. What was the question? The question was, who was greater between a Guru and his disciple? The king replied that of course a Guru was greater. The Guru said that for this reason the king must execute him before executing his disciple. Now, when disciple heard his Guru words, he started shouting that he wanted to die first. When the Guru and disciple started arguing that who would die first, the king got confused. He asked the Guru that why did he want to die? The Guru replied that he refused to reply. He said that he wanted to die before his disciple. The king felt that there was something mystery behind that. There is something fishy. The Guru wanted to die before his disciple and was so eager to die. Why? The question is there in the mind of the king, that why the Guru want to die first and why both are fighting to die. Now there must be some reason behind this. Now the Guru asked the king to promise him. The Guru is asking the king to promise him that he would execute the Guru first if he will tell the reason behind this, that why he want to die or why he want to die first. Now the king promised that he would execute him first. Then the Guru took the king aside and slowly told him that they had roamed around the whole world but had not seen a city and a king like this. He added that the stake which they would use to kill the disciple was the stake of justice. As it was new, it had not killed any criminal. And further he said that the one who would die first on this stake would be reborn as the king of kingdom. By telling this, he is trying to trap the king, that whoever will die on this stake first, because this is a new stake, nobody has died on this stake before, and for the first time this stake is being used to murder someone legally, and whoever will die in the next incarnation, on the next birth, he will become the king of this kingdom. Now the king was trapped. The one who would die next would be reborn as the minister of the kingdom. So he said the first one will become the king of the kingdom, and second who will die become the minister of the kingdom. Now the king was trapped in the plan of the Guru. The Guru added that he was tired of the life of the sannyasi. He and his disciple want to live the life of a king and a minister. So he says that the king execute him first, that he is reborn as a king after him. His disciple he executed so that he is reborn as a minister. After listening to the Guru, the king was in deep thought. Now he was thinking something. He did not want that in the next life his kingdom be snatched. So now here comes his selfishness, that he don't want to give his position to someone else. He is very greedy. He said that I can't give my kingdom to someone else. And he discussed this thing with his minister. The king told his executioner, those who are going to kill the disciple and the Guru, he said that that he would send the criminals at night. Firstly, they should execute the person who came first and then execute the second person. They should be careful and not make any mistake. At night, the king ordered that we will execute this guru and disciple at night. And first thing is that the who came first will be die first, and who came second will die second. At night, the king and his minister went to the prison, wear the clothes of where the guru and disciple was kept. They wore the clothes of the guru and disciple so that they resemble them. And as it was told to the servant, they came and took them along. So now the servants were ordered that you just have to come and take those guru and disciple from the prison. And what they did, they just took without seeing who was there, and they put them into the stake of execution. In this way, with the intelligence of the guru was able to execute the foolish king and his foolish minister, and indirectly he has actually saved the whole kingdom from this foolish king. And when the dead bodies of the king and his minister were taken away to be thrown, the people trembled to see the dead bodies of the king and his minister. Now the people were afraid. They have killed their king and their minister. What to do now? What will happen to our kingdom? Everyone was trembling, because the dead bodies were not of the guru and the disciple. Instead, they were the bodies of the king and the minister. Now the people of the kingdom thought that they needed a king and a minister, and so they requested the guru and the disciple to be the new king and the new minister. The disciple agreed quickly, but it took some time to make the guru agree upon this. Guru was not agree upon this, but disciple got agree that yes, I want to be the minister, I would love to serve you all. But guru was thinking something else. Now what happened at last? The guru agreed that the king of the kingdom, that he agreed that I guess I will be the king of this kingdom, but on one condition, that everyone would work in the day and will sleep at night. And also the cost of the things would vary. Vary means they will be different, and they will not be of the same cost. That is one do. It would be just like that all other kingdoms are. Finally, the guru converted the kingdom of fools into a normal king. So this was your story, Kingdom of Fools. I hope this was you understood the story, because it was very interesting and easy also. With this, I want to say that the chapter is finished. I'll provide you the PDF of the explanation of this chapter with your question answers, and please go through the video and your given PDF. Read the chapter on your own once, so that you are able to understand the actual summary of this chapter. Thank you, students.